thing is incredibly dramatic. It is, 50 journalists, 17 news organizations, major news organizations, 11 countries. Now you ask the question, would they do this in a Western nation? My view is no. They would ask the obvious questions. But then again, reporting on Africa has always been offhand, has always been poor, it has always started with a preconception, and they come to perpetuate that preconception rather than go on the ground and hear and understand the story. So they've been caught out, really, in two ways. The first is that, understandably, this is again my supposition, they will have trusted forbidden stories, and they didn't ask that many questions. But the second is their own culpability, in that when it comes to African stories, they don't do the kind of journalism that they do in Western countries. They simply go on assumptions. I think this is what has happened. And then, of course, in the case of Rwanda, we have had this narrative for more than 10, 15 years, with Human Rights Watch pouring this stuff out. And they have taken this almost Goebbelian idea that if you repeat a lie several times, time and time again, it will become the truth. This seems to be the game now. And this is what they seem to be doing with Rwanda. So when this thing came out, they said, well, all right, but there is no substance. Where is the beef, as the Americans would say? Where are the stories that you're supposed to be publishing that these journalists were not allowed to publish? Never mind those stories now. Go and look at the supposed work of these journalists and tell me if you can find it. One of the things, one of the little bits and pieces they pick up are these stories about the bulldozing of slums. What they mean by that, this was covered internationally, I think about a year and a bit ago. What they mean by that is that the Rwanda government, given the limited resources, it is trying its best to house people properly and taking them out of wetlands, of flood-prone areas, and actually building them decent housing somewhere. That part of it was never covered. There was a focus on bulldozing these rather unsanitary places where people lived, but nobody was interested in going to see where these people were taken. And of course, it's always easy to find somebody who complains that things haven't been done as much to their satisfaction as they would like to have done. So they take all of that. The whole thing became, terribly noisy and so on. And it is being recycled over and over again. In the meantime, at least, I think 3 or 4 estates for these people to go and live in decent housing have been built. And nobody, not a single person, has covered that. This is one of the stories that forbidden stories also talk about.